Call the meeting to order, determine that the quorum present, Commissioner Wardlaw, Commissioner Vasquez, Commissioner Middleton, Commissioner Flores, we have a quorum. Commissioner Vasquez, if you'll lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4, approving minutes, reading minutes, motion Commissioner Middleton, second Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? Aye. 5-0 vote. Item number 5, citizens' comment. Mr. Hernandez. Did it, any order?
I'll go first, Judge. Good morning, Judge Owens, County Commissioners, County Attorney Markowski, and all other individuals present. My name is Angie Fernandez, and I am the wife of Michael Fernandez Sr. and the mother to Michael Fernandez Jr. First off, let me start by commending Judge Owens and all parties involved in their professional way in which you are handling the COVID-19 pandemic. The nightly or daily updates that we receive from Judge Owens are keeping us informed on what we need to do as individuals to slow down and eventually put a stop to this craziness. Unfortunately, I find myself addressing you this morning in regards to the unprofessionalism and the misrepresentation of your June 24th, 2020 Commissioners Court meeting by Mr. Edgar Perez, believed to me to be the manager of the Verde County Fairgrounds, and Commissioner Mark Wardlaw. It was brought to our attention by our son that he was confronted by Mr. Perez regarding an alleged complaint or concern. My son talked to him regarding the matter. Mr. Perez advised him that he would talk to the other individuals and get back with him. In light of Mr. Perez's continued contacts with my son, my husband and I scheduled a meeting with Commissioner Wardlaw regarding these accusations. The meeting was scheduled for Monday, June 22nd at 2 p.m. at the Commissioner's Court office. We arrived and waited for Mr. Wardlaw. The door was locked, and we were advised by the deputy in the hallway that the secretary had not been there all day. We let him know that we had a scheduled meeting and that we would wait. Mr. Wardlaw arrived, did not have keys to the office, so we held the meeting in the hallway. We expressed our concern for the allegations and asked him to please look into the matter and get back with us. He acted like he knew nothing of what was going on and told my husband he would call him. We confirmed that he had my husband's phone number, and we left a message waiting to hear from him. Again, please note, my son did not fail to address this matter and make things right. Though he was not found guilty of any of the accusations that Mr. Perez brought forth, prior to the 24th, Mr. Perez tried to scare him and belittle him by telling him certain things to try and make him leave. He was not worried. Every time Mr. Edgar Perez approached him, as he always treated him with respect and knew he had done nothing wrong and was not worried. In essence, 10 years of renting from the Verde County Fairgrounds between him and my husband, he was not worried about anything. He would not do anything to compromise his contract with the fairgrounds. On the contrary, he has a lot of his own money invested in the 2 stalls that he rents there. He takes pride in what he is doing, and the continued threats by Mr. Perez to have him removed or kicked out have failed. Again, another example of Mr. Edgar Perez representing himself as judge, jury, and executioner. On June 24th, Mr. Perez approached the County Commissioner's Court in executive session and obviously painted this horrible picture of my son. Had he properly and professionally handled this matter, he would have either been able to resolve the issue based on the false accusations, or he would have been able to determine that this attack on my son is not because of my son's actions. It stems from 2 other issues. A way of getting back at my husband for a horse that my husband legally purchased, yet the brother of one of the individuals accusing my son of the wrongdoing felt it in his power to seek the means of taking the horse away from my husband, and it failed. Years ago, it took lawyers' fees, court costs, and a public auction on the very steps of this courthouse for my husband to bid on and eventually be awarded the horse that was his to begin with. And then the request by the other individual to have my son vacate a stall from the area of which he conducts his business at. It's my understanding that as long as you maintain your stalls to the rules and regulations set forth and you make your monthly payments, you're entitled to that. Nobody can request that you move because they don't like you. It is obvious that these individuals felt that their personal relationship with Mr. Perez was of greater value than that of following procedures. Once again, Mr. Perez, your compadre way of handling things and the failure to remove yourself from a conflict of interest has escalated this issue to the level that it is at now. Please be advised that I am not trying to prevent Mr. Perez from having a social relationship. These individuals, what I am trying to state is that he cannot be friends with or attend, nor am I trying to state that he cannot be friends with or attend barbecues at each other's house. I'm merely stating that the level of his friendship with these individuals caused him to be prejudiced regarding my son. So you see why it was very upsetting that on the June 24th, the very day that you all held Commissioner's Court 2 weeks ago, we received a phone call from our son advising us that he had just been confronted by Mr. Perez and a sheriff's deputy advising him that during Commissioner's Court, it was voted on and approved to have him removed from the stall. Upon receiving this call, I immediately went to the fairgrounds to address this issue with him. I entered the office located at the Verde County Fairgrounds. The young lady to the right of the door, as I entered, quickly positioned her face mask, but Mr. Perez did not. When I advised him that Judge Owens had mandated facial covering, he advised me that he was in his office. I then stated, yes, it is a public office, and you should be wearing your mask. I'm standing right in front of you, at which time he pulled out a black mask from the pocket of his white long-sleeve shirt and advised me that he did have his mask, yet failed to put it on. He put it back in his pocket, demonstrating his level of disrespect for Judge Owens and all other individuals in his presence. I then advised him that I was going to go speak to the Sheriff Martinez regarding why a deputy was dispatched. As to the best of my knowledge, my son had never acted in a manner of threat to Mr. Perez. Well, Mr. Perez took it upon himself to give the sheriffs a heads up that I was heading that way. Long story short, I arrived at the jail, spoke to Sheriff Martinez and Deputy Pata, and was advised by the sheriff that he knew nothing of the matter, only that a deputy had been dispatched. When I questioned Deputy Pata, I asked him if Mr. Perez, I questioned him, and he said if he felt threatened by my son. And he said that he was asked by Mr. Perez basically to be there for moral support. Well, if you are following the law, doing the right thing, and conducting yourself in the capacity given to you, you do not need moral support from any individual. I asked him what was said. He basically reiterated that Mr. Perez had advised my son that the commissioners voted on and agreed to have him removed from the stall. He stated my son was very polite, and then he had engaged in a conversation over my son's horse, at which time he was bathing when he was approached by Mr. Perez. I thanked both the sheriff and the deputy for their time, and I left frustrated and angry, because either the Commissioner's Court violated the Open Meetings Act by their presentation of Mr. Perez and then taking a vote, acting upon, which was totally unethical, or Mr. Perez is lying, once again taking his own personal hate towards my son based on his friendship with the other individuals. This brought me to involve my father, former Mayor City of Del Rio, former County Health Inspector for Verde County, Mr. Roger Cerny. I telephoned him and I asked him if it was possible, could a vote be taken and agreed upon in executive session at which time he advised me, no, that would not be right. It would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act, and he advised me and assured me that Judge Owens would not allow that to happen. So my question to you today is, if there was no violation in executive session during the Commissioner's Court, why did Mr. Edgar Pettis and Commissioner Morton Wardlaw knowingly and purposely misrepresent the very individuals that are sitting in this room today? This statement by Mr. Edgar Pettis and Commissioner Wardlaw led to the two documents that each one of you received, that I personally took to the Commissioner's Court, that I personally delivered to the judge, to the County Attorney Anna Markowski Smith. I requested this information to show that Mr. Pettis is not properly managing the fairgrounds. I wanted to see the rules and regulations regarding the rental of the stall units. Is there any statement in there indicating that if your neighbor does not want you in the area, he has the right to request that you be removed? Were individuals in good standing with their payments, with the cleanliness of the stalls, etc.? Because I know my son is. In reviewing these documents given to me, I would like to know why there is no record of rental from one of the accusing individuals, Mr. Bertoleja, as he had a horse there. It was there. It is no longer there. I wonder why. Nonetheless, did he have a contract? If he did not pay rent, why? He's not on any of the documents I received. I can give you that answer. It is another compadre discussion and failure by Mr. Edgar Pettis to remove himself from a conflict of interest. I am totally convinced that this was a personal attack of character on my son for the sole benefit of Mr. Pettis and the other individuals involved. Mr. Pettis, you owe my son an apology for your actions and your untruthful behavior. You, sir, are a liability to the county and a reason for a lawsuit. Due to the misrepresentation and professional manner in which Mr. Edgar Pettis has conducted himself, I am asking that the court consider the removal of Mr. Edgar Pettis from his position as manager of the Verde County Fairgrounds. I'd like to thank each one of you for your time and the ability to have approached you this morning. Each one of you has my personal cell phone number, and if you need to contact me, please feel free to do so. I would also like to state that unlike Mr. Pettis, should you need any information, documentation, or pictures, please feel free to contact me, and I will provide them to you. Thank you.
Mr. Sonny?
Judge, Commissioners,
I'm sorry. Just so you understand the particular side of it, because we can't answer the citizens' comments. Did you hear that?
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no problem. Judge and Commissioners, I just want to echo my daughter's comments regarding the magnificent job that this court has done in leading the fight against this pandemic, the coronavirus. It's commendable. And Judge, your leadership has been outstanding. I've heard it voiced by more than one of your colleagues, and the entire court has done a great job in this area. I'll get right to the point. When this situation arose with my grandson, my daughter called me and advised me that there was going to be a meeting with Commissioner Wardlaw, because Commissioner Wardlaw was in charge of the fairgrounds, and I erroneously told her that I felt that Commissioner Wardlaw would handle this in a very professional and fair manner, which obviously did not occur. I think she has done an excellent job of outlining this situation as to Mr. Pettis's involvement in a plot to take vengeance against my grandson for something that occurred many years ago. At the same time,
I am dismayed at the total ineptness of Commissioner Wardlaw to deal with this situation. The only contact that I had with Commissioner Wardlaw to this day, regarding this particular incident, was after the fact, after the 24th. And I called him, and he told me that it had been agreed on in executive session that this was to happen, that my son was to be removed from the fairground. And really couldn't give me much more of an explanation than that. What I did is I called the county attorney's office, and I want to commend the county attorney's office as well as the judge's office for their complete transparency in this situation as far as providing the information that my daughter has requested and everything. Thank you, Anna. However, I called that office to see if it had been on the agenda, because in order to have voted upon it, would have to get on the agenda and voted in open session. And like I advised Angel at the time, I knew that Judge Owens would not allow this type of thing to occur. I'll get right to the point. What I respectfully suggest to the court to prevent this situation from ever occurring again, or a similar situation, is that the management of the fairgrounds be removed from Commissioner Wardlaw's and placed in the court, given to the court with the county judge supervising the day-to-day operations. As all of you know, I was a county employee for 17 years and a department head for about 12 of those 17 years. And that's the way it was most department heads in the county operate. And that I feel that this is a must in order that the county reduce its liability by any more erroneous actions on the part of Commissioner Wardlaw. Thank you all very much.
I'm gonna go real quick to Judge's comments. Just one brief comment. I will say that Commissioner Wardlaw, in his defense, not that he needs one, but did not know what was going on. When he told y'all on Monday, just so y'all know, he was not informed of what was going on. So it's real hard to fix a problem if you don't know what's going on. Okay. Thank y'all for coming through. Approving subdivision plans. Approving certificates of compliance. Approving monthly reports from elected officials. Motion, Commissioner Nelson, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote, approving bills. The motion, Commissioner Flores, second, Commissioner Nelson, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Auditor's report.
Morning, Judge, members of the court.
Morning.
Is there any questions on the reports that have been submitted?
Motion to approve. Motion, Commissioner Nelson, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Treasurer's report, this is a good one?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve. Motion, Commissioner Nelson, second, Commissioner Flores. All those in favor? 5-0 vote. Discussing matters relating to COVID, we have, a few treasurer's practice, I don't know if y'all have already read them, I'm asking them to show up. Online. Come up there and introduce yourselves and give us speech. Tell us what a wonderful job and all you all want to do. Morning.
Good morning.
My name, if you don't mind introducing yourself with your name.
My name is Martin Soto. My background has been in the manufacturing management, private investigation, a couple of years. I just started about 3 weeks ago with the county. We're up and busy at this point. If there's anything that we can do, any more questions that you have towards me, please ask me. I'm here to answer any questions.
My name is Ananda Aldaco. I have a bachelor's in criminology, and then I have a master's in national security studies, and I just recently started another master's in emergency disaster management. I've been on this job for about a month now with Martin, and it's been an adventure, but I really enjoy doing my job.
You know, all of y'all, how's this coming together? And they can tell you it's been like, we get one person, and then it's like, oh heck, now there's 7, 8 more around them that got it. And then it's just, it's amazing the way it goes, the way you put it together. But it is something else. When you look at the families, the individuals that went either out of town and then came back to go help somebody move or go help celebrate a birthday or something, and then they come back and now you see anywhere from 7 to 10, 12 people around them that they got it. We are today, I think we're gonna make some changes as to the process. We did interview, they did interview 2 more people yesterday to help them trace and track, and their secretary also, which y'all interviewed yesterday also. The question is gonna be, do we, how are we gonna get more help for our local health authority just because it has sort of spiral concern? I mean, it's one of those deals that, you go from holding 13 until you get to number 14 person, almost a month. And then from the 14th to now, we'll probably end up sitting rolling somewhere with 470, 480 maybe for the days out. That'd be a pretty good guess.
Yes, sir.
From the time we got our 14th positive to now, you're only looking, 38 days or 39 days or something like that. It's unbelievable how this thing can come. John, any questions for?
Yes, sir. Is the city doing anything in this effort?
What they're gonna do, they're gonna start paying, they're gonna start helping us with half of their salary. And anybody else that would hire. One of the things that was proposed also was in the school, they would have to take it back to their board and ask if they could help with funds also. Yesterday I had a discussion with the sheriff and Roland and Anna. Their job, it helps, but I think we're spending a lot of time on what happened in the past and not trying to find how we stop it in the future, not because of them, but it's sort of a mandate that we've been given. I don't agree with it because, we're sort of tracking everything that happened back here, where they can tell you right off the bat, okay, he's had contact with 4 more people. That's what we need to stop. I thought we were going to go back to, figure out what happened in the past. Let's figure out these 4 more people where they were. And I think, after the day, we'll probably sort of change our focus a little bit, try to streamline it, because we are getting so many more cases. The testing yesterday, we got results from the 489 or whatever from the state, and they came back with 46 positive out of those tests. But, we're still looking through that list, the road is still looking through the list, to see if any of them will be tested. And then there was 24 of them that tested that were out of our county. So are any of the ones that were positive, are they out of our county? So, but the way it sits right now, there's 46 out of the 489 that were tested that were positive. 2 Sundays ago. Yeah.
Good. Their job is overwhelming. Will 2 more be sufficient?
I think so. There's different pieces of this puzzle that we're gonna have to do different. I'm not gonna say do a better job with. It's just, we're learning as we're going. I think, handing out the letters for these individuals, telling them to stay quarantined and all that. I think we figured out a different way, maybe to not have to wait on one of the individuals to give the okay. You know, if the person's been notified that he's positive, then the sheriff can go search. We have had, we've had individuals from walking around with no clothes on except a shirt, that the deputies and the sheriff have had to ask to go back into their house, to, an individual going house to house, yesterday and telling them I'm positive and you're gonna need my plasma. You know, so, I mean, it's been it's rough. I mean, it's one of these deals that, you know, no matter, I think, how many people you throw at this, you know, you're still gonna have those episodes that you know, when they started, it was Amanda's taking female, Martin was taking males, and then as they got into it, well, heck, it was like, all these people, male or female, no matter, they're related, so are you working with two of them? Yes, okay, then you take them, and then the other one, well, I'll take these over here, because there's another group that I'm working with, and so they're learning as they're going along, how to sort of simplify it, that way they're, you know, it's not as burdensome, I guess. I mean, it's one of those deals, you still have your family members, they're like, and you can tell they all hang together. I mean, it only takes one person to go help somebody move to San Antonio, and they come back, and now we've got 6, 7. You know, the good thing about it though is that I would say that our businesses here in town, for the majority, once they found out that they had somebody either that was positive, an employee, or that person had contact for a long period of time with an individual who was positive, they shut, there's quite a few of them that shut their businesses down. You know, just to make sure to get everybody tested that had, contact with them, you know. Are there any more questions?
I mean, we're doing a phenomenal job, and we'll ensure that this is not going to be passed by any form of action. And unfortunately, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And I know it's difficult to try to control how you deal with these things, and the people that have come in contact with somebody, keep them quarantined where they're not continuing to spread it. It's not an easy task, so I mean, you're doing a phenomenal job. I know we're working hard to get ahead of it. I'm not really sure what ahead of it is yet. Hopefully at some point we will get ahead of this thing, and people will start realizing that this is serious. This is not some government conspiracy or some fluke of this court or any government agency trying to control it. I can tell you that the judge has done a phenomenal job of getting the right numbers. In most cities, they would say 47 and 47. He's at least, in Yardley, taking the time to make sure that the 47 of their real people not even pass in the valley and other places. So we're trying to get the real numbers out to the people. I mean, I can assure the public that this court doesn't like this anymore. We don't like to be trying to control people's lives. That's not what this is about. This is about trying to protect this community and do what's right for this community. But until everybody starts taking it serious and doing what they have to do, we are not going to get ahead of this. When we continue to have large parties on the 4th of July and every weekend barbecues in our backyard and all the other things going on, this is going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. People need to understand that the county and the city and the school can only do so much, but at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to get this under control is the people that live in this community doing what they have to do to protect it. I don't like to wear a mask. I don't like to have to do the things that I do. But at the end of the day, we have to do what we have to do to get this under control. And we had it under control. The judge is right. We stayed at 13 cases for over a month. And everybody thought it was over. You know, we've got school coming up here in 30 days. If we can't get this thing under control by the time school starts, we're gonna have a huge problem. So, I commend y'all and the other work, and sheriff, the stuff y'all are doing, the Roland, the judge, and y'all are doing a phenomenal job. But at the end of the day, the people of this community have to do what they have to do, protect themselves and protect the community. This isn't about protecting the community, your neighbors, your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather, your children. That's what this is about. This is not a government conspiracy. This is not a game to control people's lives. Go ask some of these people that are in the hospital. That's not what this is about. This is about getting this mess under control, so that we can get back to our normal lives, so that at Christmas, we can actually have a Christmas with our families. We can actually have Thanksgiving dinner with our families. And we can actually be alive to go enjoy it. People have to understand, this court cannot stop this pandemic. We can only do what we can do to try our best to protect it. But it's up to the people of this community to do what is right to protect themselves and the rest of the community. Sorry,
It's all good, it's all good. You know, one of the pieces that I keep missing and forgetting is Anna, you know, I thank you. But, you know, she stays on top of the numbers, and have you seen, have you heard, sometimes it's like, man, can you please extend it something? But it is informative, and it's one of those deals that is, at the end of it, is part of the puzzle. You know, and again, thank God. All of them. All of them. Matt, do you have anything for that? Real quick? Anna? Really?
you just told her to be quiet.
Can't read? Did you want to say a little bit, or you're okay? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hold it. Do you have something? Okay. Sure. Extending the declaration of disaster due to public emergency.
With the motion that we extended it, are we doing 30-day extension for 90 days, extended for 90 days?
And motion, Commissioner Middleton, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Discussion on COVID, overtime pay. Matt, what would be the, I know we've had this discussion, we're gonna pay time and a half, if it's out of this money, what would be the best way to do this?
You can pay overtime with these funds.
And
Yes.
it's, and all that would come out of the 700,000.
It would, yes,
Would be reimbursed.
it is.
This is
So the transfer. No, it's still working.
Okay.
we need to take actions and also.
I think you guys are right here. Number 14?
But that's what I'm saying. You're okay with it? We can go ahead and-
Yes, this is fine.
That'll work?
I make the motion to go for overtime for
Motion, Commissioner Middleton, second, Commissioner Vasquez, all those in favor? All right. 5-0 vote. Update on the food distribution, I know that we talked about it, 2 meetings back. If y'all want to continue the way it's going, we are having issues with, vehicles out in the streets, and I think we've had an accident almost at every one of these. So, what do y'all want to do? Again, I mean, we all know there's a need, but we've got people going to all the locations over and over and over. So do we do the cards? Y'all are gonna keep the food distribution, and talk to cards, what do we do?
Judge, what you just said is exactly true. This was happening Monday. We served 451 people, 108 from precinct 1. I'm feeding people we're making the rounds. We're going to, about that, just my precinct, I could get done in an hour.
Yeah. And we go back to the cards, and I know that's all precinct 2 and precinct 4 were using cards, right? And then we sort of got away with it because of COVID.
Judge, I think that's the only way we're gonna be able to control this,
Or not precinct,
Tell them they
drive
drive out there and they need to get a car with a barcode to identify that person. And that way they can't go from one place to the other. Wherever they're registered precinct 4, precinct 2, or whatever precinct it is, they need to go there. And it's the only way we're going to control it. Scan the car, identify the person, get over with.
But there has to be some qualifications, and we just.
No, this one is, you don't have to apply or qualify, I mean, just apply, but you don't have to qualify.
But,
Yeah, I mean,
so do we go back to the cards? That way you gotta have a card?
Judge, we're using driver's license and the addresses, it's coming out very accurate. It's, precinct 3 is being, we can serve 38 from precinct 3. I told Commissioner Nettleton we would serve precinct 3, it wouldn't be a problem. It'd be an extra 38 only.
But are the cards stricter? When we had the cards, we let them scan the
they're
barcode.
more effective. I mean, you're gonna get your license, it's, I mean,
You're gonna have to register every single.
you scan it right here, that's how it works. If precinct 2, precinct 1 are in full distribution, and also precinct 4, you're scanning those cards. If I scan this one card right now, I'll find out if they've been to precinct 1 or 2.
No, what I'm saying is, everybody is gonna have to register to get a car.
Yeah, 2 batches of white cards.
No, that means, when they drive, the first time, they're gonna have to register to get a car.
They're gonna have to go to, the precinct and get registered.
But there's no qualifications for being able to do
You
it.
just gotta be a resident of Broward County.
How do you get the card, Commissioner?
So right now, flip back, we'll provide the cards.
And so they register when they drive up, and then the card's mailed to them?
No, not when they drive up, but, you know, they're gonna have to make an appointment or, yeah. And when I have the distribution, they can go register.
You need to do like a pre-registration, they come up, and one day come up and register. You give them a card, and then that barcode on that card goes back to that person, that's the registration. Every time they show up, they scan.
Let's do that. We need, but we need to break it out. They're making the rounds. They're making,
We can register your people, and the other person register their people, and, you know,
We're putting our people, our employees, the numbers of people coming in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. With all of this going on, I understand there's people in need, there's elderly, I get that. The people that have COVID, the judges going into care packages and stuff like that, but, I mean, what's the point we get back to, like, we doing our job? On the road, it's up to you.
so
I mean,
how can we get these,
go and bring people up.
how can we get these applications for these cards?
You have a form? That's, that's.
You want to hold it, something,
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do this. I can get with, Commissioner Cordes or Commissioner Vasquez, and they'll provide you the templates, and then they'll show you how to get that.
We'll do it.
The only other discussion that I guess that we have to find out is the, logistics, for example, getting a load, if, for example, Commissioner, we have to figure out, you know, same load or same delivery, same food distribution on the same day, and so on. I think it's gonna be a little bit more discussion, we have to there, make sure that we get a trailer load, for example, on that same day, if that makes any sense.
Anytime we have access to go to the loads and measure.
Different locations, for example, someday,
What is the other thing, program? Yeah, it was hard.
Well, I don't know about everyone, how they function, but
So you're saying, if we get a load the same day,
for example, yesterday, for example, Mr. Mark with 100 some people, it's gonna take to get a whole trailer load, be able to do it, for example, 1 hour, 2 hours, but, you know, it's not really making sense. We're gonna have to, you know,
everybody gets that?
right, but, for example, if I'm gonna get for people, precinct 2, definitely I need a trailer load, which we're getting right now. We're getting a trailer load, someone's getting a trailer load, but if we get it down to just, you know, only 8 people for precinct 1, precinct 2, then figure out, make sure we get all together and figure out the same day. If that makes any sense. The most of it is all reefer guidance, you know.
We don't think that do that. I mean, it makes more sense when you just have one central food.
I think that's,
That'd be the best thing to do.
One place, that's what food's given out, everybody shows up at the same place.
instead of giving it out,
You know,
1, 2, 3, 4 different places.
but you have to make sure that these employees are protected. And we're taking away our employees from Broken Bridge, we're taking away the employees from the fairground, nowhere else. The deal with this, is we're down to once a week. You know, I mean, I get once a month, once every couple of months, but we're literally doing it a week.
We have the distribution yesterday, we have the distribution today, you know, tomorrow, we have the distribution by 3 in 1 week for precinct 4.
Well, and that's right now, just because of the COVID, you know, in a few months, in 4 months time, we've gone over $2.1 million worth of food and knowledge, but that's only just COVID. That's just food that's out there right now for the time of need. That's not gonna be forever, it's just this particular time, you know.
But that's not going to end in 2 or 3 months.
No, it's not.
It's not, you know, we got planned, this isn't a 2 or 3 month endeavor. If we're going to deal with it through the entire COVID deal, and then the federal government is giving 1,000 weeks for unemployment, plus the people that still have jobs and everything else, I mean, what is it end?
I mean, you know, it's not gonna end, I mean, we gotta find a good way, solution.
You gotta have solutions that make sense, and I understand that.
And the only way to do it is consolidate the distribution. It's the only way. Because we're running in circles here. Yeah, that's what we're
We're
doing.
not getting anything else in the county to it. It doesn't involve, I mean, I've done a little bit in Comstock, we're not doing it every week or every month, we're doing it.
They're all saying the same thing. All of them are saying the same thing. Go to Congress, when you consolidate that way, you go back and do what we're supposed to be doing. All of them are stretched. So, well, get hold of the cards, and then the next meeting, what we'll do is, I'll come up with a place, and I'll put it back on the agenda, because that's who the cards between now and then.
So, Jared, how does somebody qualify?
That's just what they were saying, there is no
If you don't qualify, you just apply. If you're a citizen of Auburn County. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you make $5 a month or $100 million a month, you're gonna get it.
That's what I got going right now. I mean, they're all coming through. Everybody's invited.
And I'm all for helping people that need it. I'm just not convinced that everybody is driving to need it. And then there's people that do need it that aren't getting it.
Well, y'all do the cards, set the cards up, get that going, and then 2 weeks we'll figure it out. Like everybody's saying, this isn't gonna end. Y'all are gonna continue to keep getting food, we should get to a place where they have their cards. Maybe we go to once a week or once every 2 weeks, food distribution at one centralized location. Okay. Talk a lot. Item 16, approving payment number 16. How'd that happen? Number 16, approving payment number 16. Under SHC contract number 7217013 in the amount of $48,975.92. Authorized county judge and county auditor to sign the request for payment and residential rehabilitation drawn checklist.
Second.
A motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second Commissioner Flores, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0 vote. Item 17, approving, did you want to say something? You good? Approving the A303 environmental review form for the emergency SHC grant and application resolution.
Second.
A motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 18, applying for and accepting the Lab Hatcher Library Foundation grant for up to $6,040. And motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 19, approving purchase of a HVAC vacuum pump from Insco Distributed in the amount of $539.92 using Fairgrounds Improvement account.
Move it's gonna be useful.
Next, and that's somebody not gonna work on it.
Morning, Judge, Commissioner, this is gonna be used for, repairs and stuff like that on the AC units? Yes, sir.
Second. You made a motion?
I did.
Commissioner Flores made a motion, Commissioner Nettleton second, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 20, appointing Alejandro Avila, a certified peace officer as a reserve deputy constable for precinct 4.
I'll make a motion to approve, Alejandro Avila, certified peace officer. He's got all the, qualifications. I mean, he's registered as certified peace officer. He's a veteran.
And motion, Commissioner Flores, second, Commissioner Nettleton, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 21, adopting resolution for Commissioners Court to grant purchasing exceptions under Texas Local Government Code 262.024, parentheses A, parentheses 11, for repair of county vehicles due to hail damage. What do we exempt?
We don't have to go through the formal bid process. We can, go ahead and move forward, getting these, repaired through. Because, all vehicle repairs are, if y'all grant the exemption, are not, they don't have to go through the formal bid process. It's a discretionary exemption. We can go through the formal bid process, but for vehicle repairs, it's a little harder. We would have to, go through the formal bid process and have them look at all 53 vehicles for all the vendors, maybe have like a pre-bid conference, somehow get all the vehicles all together for them to look at it.
Are you gonna get quotes, please? I mean,
Yes.
vendors.
Yes, I mean, we have 53 vehicles. I would imagine to go to at least like 5 vendors and 10, in groups to at least dole out these vehicles as fast as possible.
So we're gonna need to get quotes to give everybody a chance.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Second.
And motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 22, declaring the following items as surplus property and executing property disposition pursuant to Texas Local Government Code 263.152, and it goes from A to R.
And none of this stuff run business, you're talking, no business? Motion to approve.
Second.
And motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Glad I didn't have to read on that. Item 23, approving the purchase of 2 satellite phones for emergency management and authorize county judge to enter into a service agreement for a price of $598.90 per year to be paid out of emergency management budget. And motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 24, approving the purchase of 1 satellite phone from Robert E. County Fire Department and authorize county judge to enter into a service agreement for a price of $299.40 per year to be paid out of fire department. Motion, Commissioner Flores, second, Commissioner Nettleton, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 25, approval to enter into a 3-year agreement with Spectrum for 1 gigabyte fiber internet to the building on 509 East Mid Street, with an option to opt out after 1 year, and authorize county judge to sign. The plan will cost $1,449 per month to be paid out of utilities. It's expensive, and what we're doing is, they wanted it to sign a 3-year contract, but they allowed us to go 1 year, and then they're working on running the fiber from, the price to run the fiber from the library.
Okay, so we might be able to get out of this.
We can get out of this.
Second.
A motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Item 26, approving human resource report from June 24, 2020 through July 8, 2020.
Motion.
Second.
A motion, Commissioner Nettleton, second, Commissioner Flores, all those in favor? 5-0 vote. Over here. Item 27. Executive session items may result in action in open session thereafter. Closed session consultation pursuant to Texas Government Code A 551.071, parentheses 2, client attorney attorney-client privilege. Sorry about that. And 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, C 551.071, parentheses 1, parentheses 8, contemplated litigation. We'll take a little break and then we'll go to the courtroom, to the jury room. Ready? We're on? Okay. Court is now back in session. It is 10:53. Commissioners' comments? None? County judge's comments? None? We are adjourned. Thank y'all.